It's always been something that you could say is fake.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's real. But sometimes it's not.
I look at movies that are based in, or not even based, if that were made maybe in the 50s and 60s, and see how like pro-America everybody is, but also so massively ignorant to what is actually going on. And until we were fed that information later on in life, man, people were just fucking closed-minded. Oh, it looks like we've got an audience. Holy sheepskins, ladies and gentlemen. What is going on? Welcome back to the Casually Serious podcast.
Hello, people.
We took a little bit of time off. Ken Man had a little bit of vacay, right? A little. Is that what happened?
No, I think I had the flu.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had the flu.
It's not cool.
No, that's why I'm nasally. Still have the
flu. So more people are dealing with that now, sickness of some kind, and I think it's just because we're just so used to. I think people are so happy they don't have to wear masks now that they're just not wearing masks, and that's gonna screw up our flu season. But
no more masks. I agree.
No more masks. So we got a pretty crazy topic going on right now today, and
is it though?
Yeah, it's you know what? I'll tell you what. It might not be what you think, ladies and gentlemen. It just might not be what you think.
Cool.
Oh, look at me.
I'm here.
Hi, Hash Brown.
I'm here.
Hey, how you doing, Ken Man?
Good.
And Bobolink?
What is going on?
Not much. You know, thinking about long distance phone service.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Are you happy with your long distance
Which provider are you going to go with?
Who cares? People don't even worry about that anymore, dude. You can make all the long distance phone calls.
Oh,
you see what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't even matter anymore.
You're being cheeky.
Oh, you were. Oh,
that's you prick.
Tweedly dee, bitches. Tweedly dee.
All right, so right off the bat, folks, we called this puppy rock or rap. Did you choose a side? And you know, I have to be honest on this one. We had a sort of different idea for this episode. We were going to call it something completely different. I in the back of my head thought it was not appropriate anymore for the times, simply because it's just we had a lot of words for what we all called each other back in the day. So anyway,
what a snowflake.
We decided to go with rock or rap. Did you choose a side? More specifically, we're talking about junior high, high school. Did you have to choose between hanging out? Yeah, so let's go with years. I was thinking about that earlier. I'm going to say for myself, 86 through 92.
You're getting into high school though. It's like it's even shorter than that. I believe
you're right. It may be 86 to 88, 89.
Right.
Maybe.
It doesn't even get into the 90s because that's when I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, but yeah, I believe it's more just those.
What are you talking about, Willis?
That's really
the basis of all this.
86 to 89.
And we're speaking from our experiences from that time, from during that time frame, because in South Florida there was a massive influx of multiple different cultures coming in. That's not to say there wasn't already a shitload of different cultures in Miami. There was, all right, but a lot of more Hispanic influences, and with a lot of that came a lot of other kinds of criminal activity. Because the numbers got bigger, a lot of different people just started forming gangs. We had to deal with a lot of gang culture growing up in South Florida at the time. So what designated whether you were Target A or Target B, Target C was basically the kind of music that you listened to. And for us in our school in South Florida, when we were going to places like Hammocks, McMillan, things like that in South
Florida.
Springs. Miami Springs. You would really be choosing between one of the two. Now, that's kind of the way it was back then. And that's not to say there wasn't lots of other genres. They just really weren't split up into that. Like alternative might have been alternative, but it was still probably alternative rock more than anything. Back then it was rock or
punk.
rap.
You had the punk crew though. You did have the punk
the
crew,
punks.
You know,
but if that was the case, punk was not going to side with anybody who was rap friend.
Right,
rap
but
friendly. They would go with the rockers, but
they would go with the
reluctantly.
rockers. Very true. Very, very true.
Reluctantly.
And they generally did. And they generally did. For at least
that was the
groups that we
counterculture
hung
of
out with.
punk. That was really the reason why it is what it was. But what
Spin-off.
we're asking today is, did you feel the necessity, or did you feel like you actually had to and you wanted to choose a side when you were going to school back in those days between being known as a rocker or a rapper or any other type of stereotype for either burnout, bro, loser, houser, whatever the hell you want to call
House
it.
music with the shoes, man.
Tell them there's a lot of them, man. So here's the deal. That's the basis of this. We didn't really want to know if you are a rock fan or a rap fan, because personally, I think all of us in these squares right now are fans of all of that shit. And the reason why this conversation popped up is because I was looking at some statistics on Spotify as to the kind of music that our fan base is listening to. And this is just Spotify, by the way. And I was a little upset to know that all of our fan base is male on Spotify. Ladies, please go to Spotify and just subscribe to the Casually Serious podcast, if nothing else, to just get that number off of 100% male. It's just very fucking weird to me, and I need to see that I know females are listening to us and watching us because I see them right now. So anyway, if we wanted to know if you had any of those experiences, because we did, and I think we're gonna choose a side just for tonight. Ken, man, well, actually, what's up, Hash Brown?
Hey,
I think
Bob,
you said
I was going to ask you. This is a little bit off topic. When you're on Spotify, are they listening to us live right now?
No, Spotify comes after it's already been
Gotcha.
downloaded.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, man, that's okay. When I was a kid and I was in middle school, that was the hardest time when I was listening to music, and the way I had to dress a certain way. I used to dress like a rapper. I used to wear like silver tab Levi jeans, baggy, with a Tommy Hilfiger shirt. But I used to have long hair and mushroom cut shaved because I was a rocker. But I used to dress like that because I was incognito, because I didn't want to be fucked with. Because if I went to school wearing a freaking, Lose Your Illusion shirt from Guns N' Roses, you're gonna get punched in the nuts.
So you're on the other side of that, of the coin of rap rock, and we're going to get into that. Before we do though, let's go say a hello to our predominantly female audience in the comments section. We've got Tammy Freeman Manheimer is always coming and checking in. How's it going, sweetheart? Always good to see you. Howdy all. Female.
Hello,
Ryan Smith, not female.
Not female.
Hey,
we like you, Brian. We like you.
Dude.
And happy birthday, by the way. Happy birthday, Brian
Smith.
Smith.
Happy birthday.
A couple days ago, I know, but
nice. All right.
And we got Leslie over here.
Leslie Ann, what's going on? Good to see you. We go way back here on this one. You were a band geek. You love all music. That's cool. So so here's the deal with that. If you were a band geek, then you were in a different kind of fucking corpuscle altogether.
Yes,
in which you're probably already ducking and dodging any of the violence that happened in your school.
Right.
You did not want to damage your equipment.
You
had to rent that
we
equipment.
Were. Right.
Exactly.
Yes.
You were doing something productive and probably learning shit. My friend and I tried to be bro chicks for a bit in '87, but glam rock won you over, as it did most women back in those days. We were rockers all the way. Yeah, 100%. Ken, man, you decided that even though my base, starting off, music I first started listening to and enjoying was rock and roll, hard rock, classic rock, as well as you. Tonight, for the sake of the argument, we're going to go ahead and let you represent the rock side, the burnout side, the loser side, the smoking side of Sunset Senior High School, whatever you want to call it. Go. Let's see exactly what you have to say about this particular topic.
Well, for me, this all started in junior high school. So, back in the day, they called it that. It wasn't middle school. And we went there in 6th grade. And seventh grade. Sorry, we went 7th grade to middle school. So we actually 6th grade was still elementary school back in the day. 7th, 8th, and 9th grade were the grades that we were in middle school, and that was the time I'm talking about. I felt safer in high school than I did in middle school. Middle school was a scary time, and it was just because of music. This is what's crazy. Generally, when you go to school and you're afraid. You're afraid because there's racial tension, or there's some sort of a tension that, you're not liked because of where you're from or what you look like or things of that nature. This wasn't the case. It was 100% the music you listened to. That is all. We had all mixes of people on both sides. So we had our wall where all the burnouts, because that's what they called us rockers back then. We're using rock to be nice, but we were burnouts. That's what we were. Mind you, I was in 7th, 8th grade. I didn't smoke. I didn't drink. I didn't do anything. I wasn't any other kind of a burnout other than I'd wear a Rockin' with Dawkins t-shirt to school. And my hair was long.
You were brave. You were brave wearing Dawkins, dude.
This is
dude,
the stuff.
we're dream warriors, dude.
This is
Ain't
what
gonna dream
we
no
did.
more.
And we wouldn't care, and we'd come in our clothes and show our proud
we're winger,
love
dude.
for our music.
We're winger, dude.
And you're in a different time. That's 7 years younger that you are than us. You didn't even get what we've got. I'm telling you, you're talking Guns N' Roses. You're in a different time frame. The music you're even talking.
You're right.
So
Excuse me.
what I'm just saying. What I'm saying is this is when it was really about that, because there wasn't a crossover where a lot of the people that were listening to rap were also listening to rock music. That hadn't quite happened yet. So even though there were some rockers that would listen to maybe some gangster rap or some of the real hardcore type of stuff, there wasn't too much crossover that way either. So really it came down to the music you listened to. And I had friends that they listened to the same rock music as me, but they weren't about to come to school with a concert shirt on or anything to show that that's the music they listened to, because they wanted no part of what was going on in the hallways. And it was a madhouse in the hallways. You'd be getting pushed and tripped and thrown against lockers just for wearing, the kind of clothes that you wore.
I hear you, dude.
And burnouts were outnumbered. I mean, at least in my middle school, we were outnumbered like crazy by the bros who dressed like this. You had the really tight shirts all up high with the polos all buttoned up.
You add on to it.
Pavaricis, right? And all the gold and stuff.
Historically not athletic people. Historically not.
Wait, you're talking about the burnouts? Come on, man.
Yes,
burnouts football. Come on, man.
Yeah, but
not too hot.
But we found that eventually we started realizing that the athletes wound up kind of going with the hip hop crowd, the rap crowd, in a lot of ways, if not. But back then it wasn't. When you mentioned gangster rap, and I didn't mean to cut off. You're going to go and gangster rap hadn't really even been formed at that point. We had NWA, but it wasn't a massive culture thing. So people were kicking each other's ass like Stevie B and shit like that. And, like a Run DMC, you're getting your ass kicked. It's tricky.
Ocean.
You know what I mean? Like anything at that time, it would have been anything that's in that rap category does encapsulate that culture at that time.
And that started even just a couple of years prior to that in the mid 80s with the breakdancing, because that really brought in a lot of where the bros kind of went into was breakdancing, where we would pull the cardboard out from under the portables and do all that craziness. And, but once we got into middle school, it was kind of a different monster, and the separation thing really did begin. I mean, I'm bringing knives to school. I'm 13, 14 years old. I'm bringing a knife to school for protection, because seriously, I was nervous that these people were going to come at us like this. And it was a crazy time to think that it wasn't about anything else other than the music that you listened to. It really, truly, truly was. And it took, the crossover to change, which we'll discuss a little into the show, and how that kind of made things a little bit, merge a little bit with these groups. But through this time, there was no merging. I mean, there were fights in the halls every single day. Every day we were fighting. Every day people were getting thrown against the wall somewhere. What's all that noise?
What's that noise?
Sorry.
I can't hear anything.
Whoa, that's your microphone.
Wow.
Anyway.
Technical diff. All right. That was. Am I okay? I hope I'm okay.
Testing. 1, 2, 3. Anyway.
I can't wait to hear that.
Yeah, that's lovely. And I think that ultimately that when we got past the part where people weren't concerned anymore about the music, that it finally did pass. But it wasn't until we went to high school, right? So those 3 years, those 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, those 3 years were the ones I felt the most uncomfortable that I've ever felt going to school. I really felt for my safety. And I was worried that what was going to happen, because people all day were getting beat up. So we had with these, just to give you a little story of some of the stuff what we would do to kind of poke fun back, because we were the smaller group. So it would be like an insurgency type of thing. We'd have to get out there and try to get a good punch in every once in a while. So on Halloween,
remember the Alamo,
right? Exactly. So on Halloween, they would allow us to dress up. So we decided, a bunch of the burnout friends of ours, we decided we were going to dress up like the bros. So we got our polo shirts and we buttoned everything up real high. And we got these thick gold chains. Well, they're regular chains, heavy chains, but we painted them gold, spray painted them. We got these big plaques on there. Like, we put LL Cool K, that was me. Everybody had their name on there when they were wearing those big gold plaques. So we're kind of making fun, you know? So we went to school wearing all this stuff that day, thinking, oh, this will be great. This will get some great laughs. And it did. Teachers, other students loved it. You know who didn't like it, though? Yeah, the bros. They didn't like it at all, man.
No, that's not very nice.
So immediately we're getting off the buses, and they're just like, they're you see we're being stared at all day. They're talking in the halls. You hear the rumblings in the classroom. All the students are talking, oh, these guys are going to get jumped. These guys are getting jumped after school today. So all day I'm listening to this. I'm like, great, you know, we're going to get jumped after school. There's probably 5 or 6 of us that are wearing this thing. So we wind up walking out to the buses at the end of the day, and we know this is going to happen. And we knew this was going to happen even before we did it, which is why we did the chains. The chains were there around our neck as a prop, but they were also there as a weapon. So every one of those chains had a lock on them, a big old padlock on them, which was hidden underneath of the big plaque. So as soon as we went outside, we all took our chains off and literally had to swing them, not hit anybody, but just to get the clearance to get to our buses, get on the buses. And man, I mean, they were smacking the buses trying to get after us. That was no good, man. But I'll tell you what, it was worth every bit of it. Still in the yearbook. I'm not sure if we could see it here. We got a little LL Cool K. We're not going to be able to see it.
No, can't see it.
Yeah, there I am.
There it is. There
you go.
Yeah, that's the Kango.
Nice. All right.
Yeah, you know, we tried to do the whole thing. It worked. That's 1989. My God, we're old. That was fun.
Wow,
it was good times, but it makes me think, you know, with the things the kids are dealing with today, being afraid to go to school because you got to worry about an active shooter, man. That's, you know, that's the kind of stuff that made me think back to this type of time in my life, which was the only time where I felt unsafe going to school. I felt by the time I went to high school, oh my God, that's going to be 10 times worse probably. So I'm thinking, how bad is it going to be there? Look what it's like here in middle school, junior high school. I got to high school
terrified.
And it was great. I mean, high school, I was I felt safer than I'd ever felt before, because that, you know, things kind of lightened up a little bit and it wasn't as crazy as it was in junior high. But those 3 years, man, were some hell, man.
How's my voice? How's my voice now, guys?
You sound better. You're back again.
You're both a little poppy to me, but it's all right. It's all right.
I came from the at that same time, while I was always friends with all burnouts and all that other stuff, I was also running with skateboarders. So while we were also listening to metal, I was listening to punk rock a lot too. And as that little transfer from junior high to high school, we were basically carrying weapons with us. We had our skateboards, and so a lot of those folks tried to jump us a couple of times, and then wound up getting eating skateboards, and it didn't happen a lot anymore. But eventually, I stopped skateboarding, and it was you know, you're not on a skateboard all the time, and at that time, rap was starting to get huge and all over America, but mostly in the East Coast where hip hop started, and we were the first to kind of get the trickle down of all that before it exploded across the coast. To the West Coast. So I started figuring out that I enjoyed a lot of it. I also figured out that I could go home, pop on a Misfits album, pop on a Kiss album, and then pop on Run DMC and not feel any different in any sort of way. I felt like a fucking misfit anyway. So it was always, the music was what I wanted to listen to regardless. But I also found out that music gave me an in, at the very least, to be somewhat social with the gang members, with the bros, with the guys that were causing a lot of trouble. And while I didn't throw hands a lot of times with a lot of people back then, most of them knew that I was a little off, and I would snap on them. Yeah, and I would, and they had seen me do a couple of things to know Bob's probably a little fucking nutty, but he's cool enough to be able to be friends with us. And I remember very vividly myself, Eric, Jason, a couple of other people who were also in this group of people who not only were able to hang out with burnouts and all these, but also get in with all these other folks, in my opinion, in survival mode, to make sure it didn't. So at least I could be sort of a go-between, which happened a lot, where I would be like, dude, these are friends of mine, don't fuck with them, and vice versa. And it always worked out that way. I found success in that. But I remember
Quite the politician.
I remember going on the side of Hammocks Junior High and voluntarily walking the gang line on at least 10 occasions, which is they would let people who were getting initiated into the gang, they would make them walk the line with their hands down, and they would just get punched by 15, 16 people. It was usually one on each side, so it was a very even number.
We would watch this and be like, what fools.
Yeah, and I would do that just to let them know, you know what, we're going to do this. I'm going to take your punches because it's just a punch. It does not matter to me. And I took it as if I was representing my burnout rocker friends half of my life by saying, you can punch all of us, but we're still going to be friends. We're still going to be cool. We're going to still be what we are, no matter what you do.
That's
and
so meaningful, Bob. Jeez.
That's sort of defiance. I think that defiance sort of made them be
Look
like,
at you at 13.
It wasn't cool, but I would take the hits because I took hits anyway. You know what I mean? And a couple of us did that. So the rap culture thing, it was something that I'm still a big fan of. As you know, I just saw Cypress Hill, Ice Cube, Too Short, E40. I go to hip hop shows. I'm a huge fan of the God Rakim. I've seen him 2 times out here in the last 4 years. I'm a big fan of the culture, big fan of the movement, but being part of that culture and that movement afforded me the ability to kind of go in between those two social circles. And I don't even want to say be a peacemaker, just sort of letting each other know, listen, if it's just music that separates us, then let that be the case. And that revolution that started happening when we started seeing the hip hop fans at rock concerts, and we would go to hip hop concerts and see rock fans. That was a big movement that happened in South Florida too. I feel a lot sooner than a lot of other places, man. I mean, it was
because of the melting pot of Florida is South Florida,
right?
Yeah.
Right. So it was sort of, I think, a graduation of what Ken and I are trying to talk about right now with this. Are you rock? Are you rap? Did you choose a side? Because eventually you had to in school. You had to do it by means of survival. My survival tactic was to try and figure out how to be friends with both folks, knowing that I was probably closer friends with other groups of people than the other.
Yeah. And there were a lot of people that weren't friends with anybody, and they didn't even be able to be able to make friends at school. Didn't even happen until they maybe one day came to school and they did have, oh look, they're wearing a Metallica shirt. Wait, they never wore a Metallica shirt before. Yeah. Now all of a sudden there's people walking over to them. Hey, cool shirt, man. Oh wow, good. And now all of a sudden you have a friend group, because I'll say something about that burnout group. We were tight, man, and we were all encompassing. I mean, it didn't matter, male, female, tall, short, young, old, whatever it was in that group. All it was the music. Well, that was our common thread, was the music. So none of the other stuff really mattered. We would all hang out. We'd all take each other in. We'd all kind of protect each other. I love that group. I mean, that was something for me that really helped me form a bond with a group of people, and to be able to understand that we really had each other's back all the time. And it was just, it was a cool thing to be able to have to do, where you're almost kind of recruiting more people. You're like, hey, come on, you guys got to come hang out with us, man. Check us out. Don't worry about, wear that shirt. Don't worry about it. We got you, you know? And I remember going down the halls and just, knowing which classes we would have together. So be like, hey, that's all right. Right after class, we'll get in this group. We'll walk together. As long as you walked in a group, you were fine, but if you were by yourself, you'd get picked out real quick. So it was, and teachers would even stay out of it, man, because sometimes the fights got raucous, man. So people were slammed against the lockers. I got sucker punched in the gut once, where I got knocked out, literally knocked out, and had stitches.
Our teachers are.
I mean, it was.
Teachers were still listening to fucking America and Seals and Croft.
Three Dog Night, man.
They didn't want any part of the shit we were fucking talking about.
Yeah, man. Peace, kids, peace.
And honestly, we could still talk about. We could talk about 4 other groups of people, including the punk rockers, the people who are just breakdancers, who probably wanted shit to do with gang activity, but got fucking lumped into it too, because they just happen to be part of the.
They had a shaved head, or they're colored their hair. I mean, the punk rock guys, they did their own things. But it would be outlandish enough that it would be like, all right, well, there's that other group where you're just going to kind of brand you in with them because you're just different than us. Because the bros, everybody looked good. The girls look good. The boys look good. They look good. They wore the real nice clothes. Z Cavaricis, everything like the ID number shirts. You had you had all those kind of things.
Cross colors.
Way too much.
Edwin.
The ID shirt,
you
unbutton the top and you pop it back a little bit, and then you make There were
What was
specific
that?
ways to wear clothing back then, or you were just going to get made fun of.
I
or
couldn't
something.
make
Make fun of anyway. You
all
didn't
the
wear
time.
it right. Yep. Well, one of the things you didn't mention was like we didn't have music the way we were able to get it now. You could like download any song you want. So really, when you were going to buy something, you were going to buy the same thing again because you're like, well, I'm going to listen to another rock album because I just bought a rock album and I liked it, so I'm going to go stay with that. And it was just easier to just stay in the same genre because you didn't have that much ability to widen to be able to go buy a whole bunch of different albums all the time. So I would just be able to get what I was able to get. So I would just get another rock one, then get another rock one, and then get another rock one. But I would dress like a rapper because otherwise I would get scrapped all the time. I was right next to Hialeah, and I was in Miami Springs, dude. I was wearing baggy jeans, Tommy Hilfiger shirts. I was wearing a baggy, and I was wearing it.
You're Hispanic. You're of Cuban descent,
Hispanic.
right?
Damn right, bro.
So here's the deal. So it's almost like you couldn't be part of that rock crowd because you would be completely fucked with and called a traitor by people who simply because. And that's what I'm saying. That's a very odd sort of like. I don't want to even say the word racism because it's sort of like a self-racism thing where, or where you're like you want somebody to be turned against themselves because they're not falling in line with what you think your race should be falling in line with.
Yeah.
Right. It's the same thing as people. You should see how my burnout older brothers' friends looked at me when I was like, fuck yeah, I'm all about Run DMC and LL and, De La Soul and Tribe and all that shit. Like they were like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like,
was great.
yeah, it's way different. Before we go any deeper, I want to say what's up to Brandy, who came in a little bit later. We didn't get to say hello.
Hey,
B-Ran, what's up, ladies. Brandon?
What's up, Brandon?
Good to see you, my friend. Dez came in to say what's up. We're getting a lot of comments in here. He says Dez said, listen, I'm listening to I'm 36, listening to both rock and rap. And that was
most
what
of
I
us
was
did, though. Like a lot of us do now. But what we're saying is that
was
when you were 12, 13, 14 years old, what were you listening to? Were you still mixing it up, or when you first really got into that stuff? And it may depend on the time. I really feel like that we were talking about this in that 86 to 89 time. I mean, really, that's what music was there. Think about what started in 90. All right, now you've got you got Dre, and you've got and then you've got the grunge music is starting.
You got Nirvana.
So your bros and Burnout to what we were listening to before with really heavy metal type music versus like you were saying, just the kind of the poppy sort of rap back then turned now into something that was a little more of a crossover gangster thing going with Dre that everybody sort of liked, metal guys and rap, everybody liked it. And then the grunge music started coming out where like everybody liked, so even these other guys are digging this music because it's top 40 music now. So that's where the cross started to become right there at 90. So I feel like once you hit like 1990, it's already over. Like what we're talking about is already over because nobody cares anymore. Everybody's already listening to everything and it's kind of accepted. So it really just winds up being that age to that I saw, at least personally for us down here, that I saw that kind of where it was only music that did it. Because once you're back in high school, there were still fights, but now it was over race and over who's with whose girl or whatever.
Yeah,
it was back to what was normal, when you would normally fight over, and not what it was just being the music you listen to.
People like to be labeled. That's right.
Yeah, it was about label back then, and some people took pride in it, and some people didn't want anything to do with it. I think it bears mentioning that there's a lot of other elements at play right here. We can't get 100% into, but we have to realize, and I want everyone to realize too, who may be younger at this point, that the beginning of rap music, mainstream rap music, the beginning of that was rooted in rock and roll music and also the imagery of heavy metal. If you go back to like Soul Sonic Force, a lot of those, they're wearing spikes, they're wearing leather, and the samples that Run DMC were using, Aerosmith, they're using rock and roll, which that's if anyone doesn't know, which is a black art anyway, rock and roll originally. So it's not, it wasn't really not fitting that they were sampling that stuff. But what it was is it was rock was so mainstream. The only way rap was going to break
into
to
take a piece of that.
Yeah, they had to figure a way to do that. So that is the very earliest, like you're saying, the very earliest examples of some of that crossover stuff happening, which is what made it easier for me to be able to sort of toe both of those lines. Right now, it's different. and we were kind of growing up in a very weird and specific time where we were able to be still influenced by the 60s and 70s, but being brought up in the 70s and 80s, and being able to watch this change in music and musical direction as a whole through the United States, because America wasn't embracing hip hop as a whole for a very long freaking time.
Right.
But by the time they did, it blew up just like everything else that we get sold to us. And the things that stuck were the great music that both of them brought to us. But it still is very much attached to social circles, to where you live, what your race is, possibly. You'll find probably, I would say, more mixed culture listening to hip hop than you would maybe metal. Although I don't know, that's kind of a weird thing. You know what? Bullshit. I take that all back. I think it's actually probably a good even mixture of all.
I think it's all
if
even
I'm being
now.
honest, especially if you, because I'm thinking of the metal shows out here in Denver, and I'm like
I see a lot
very
of
bright
Mexicans, a
white
lot of
next to
Spanish,
a lot of and that's not for nothing. Just saying, like I do realize that. I'm like, that was the way it was in Texas too, man. It was fucking beautiful. But yeah, I think the changing of the music at that time had a lot to do with us trying to find a way to
navigate ourselves.
Pick a side. Yeah.
Well, you had to
Did you
identify yourself
graduate?
with something.
Hash
I
brown?
graduated in '98, and I'm going to tell you, I still had these issues, man, when I was in middle school, and it was one of those things. You didn't have downloadable stuff and all that stuff, so
Right.
you only listened to a few things. And I had to tell you, I had to hang out with my friends, and
Right.
sometimes it was the music I was listening to, and I
They
was
didn't
hanging
have
out with them.
Slayer. They
No.
were listening to Metallica, dude.
No, they were talking about P. Diddy and Tupac, and I was like, man, okay, whatever, dude. Yeah, me too. But I was I was listening to freaking Soundgarden and Alice in Chains. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it was just a whole different lifestyle. But Miami Springs was rough. We had some
Yeah, it was.
some stupid shit go down. We had a lot of people after Hurricane Andrew came down. We had a lot of people from Opelika, Hialeah come to our school because their schools were destroyed. And yeah, you want to talk about fights after school? Yeah, buddy, get it.
Let's
rough.
go. 3 o'clock high.
Let's go. Dude, I was dipping to the school bus, dude. I was on one of those old vans, dude. The old Cuban lady was driving. I'm a whore. Corre. I'm like, because I got to get the hell in there, man, because I was going to get lit up. So I got in that school bus real quick.
You know what we're forgetting about, though, of course, when we got into high school as well, that in the 90s is the goth movement, man. The goth movement finally allowed everybody to have. Now here's the weirdest group that we've seen yet. We've had all these different people wearing different clothes, but here comes deep emo goth group. Which, hey, I had great friends in those groups, so I'm not saying anything bad about it.
I had a lot of cool ones.
But I gotta tell you, man, I don't know how you wear that kind of clothes in Miami, man. So damn.
I'm a massive fan of
They never
Bauhaus.
showed skin.
I was just about to see them until the lead singer got a sore throat a couple days ago. I'm a huge fan of Bauhaus, one of the original goth rock bands. I listen to all that shit, man. And again, I never associated with goths, but I could certainly hang out with them because they could talk about this music, and I'd be like, I know what you're talking about. I'm fucking onto you. I know all about your music, and I wanted to have knowledge of all these different people, so they couldn't corner me and be like, dude, what the fuck? What do you know about this or that? Like, dude, I know about all of it because I listen to all of it. You know what I mean? But my friends are all fucking rockers and metalheads. You know what I mean? Some of them are hip hoppers. Like, it doesn't even. It really doesn't even have a
double goat diamond.
Double goat diamond for Riley. Hell yeah. It was also a huge movement for women in music. All right.
Absolutely, man.
That's very true. That is very true. And that's the whole mix of all of that too. I think that goes together with it because it really wasn't even a male-female thing. It didn't matter, girls they go wherever you wanted to go, whichever group you liked, whatever music you liked. But a lot of times though, it would be where's the hottest guys, and generally us burnouts.
There were some girls that figured out whatever little outfit looked better on them. They're like, oh my god, I like those outfits better. I'm just gonna listen to that music because my booty looks better in that.
True.
Get out of here, dude. And there were some rocker chicks that wore that because they had that little.
That's true.
On them.
No, I don't know, dude. If we're gonna
bro.
talk about the chicks, are both great on both sides, man.
Oh, I'm telling you. I'm not saying, dude. Women are always.
What about the goth chicks though?
Dude,
no, even the
goth ones, man. They could cry on my. Never mind. But hey, whoa! But it's
crying.
Crying.
They don't cry. They don't have feelings.
They don't have feelings. Are they
They
redheads?
have dark feelings.
The show's gone off the.
Oh, they're redheads. You're out of your mind. Oh
And
my
on
God,
next week's show.
we've run over 4 minutes,
All
ladies and
right.
gentlemen.
No.
We're gonna take off. Thank you so much for coming out and hanging out with
Thank
us,
you,
talking
guys.
about
Thank
rock
you.
or
Thanks.
rap. You realize that we're not talking about being separate, rock or rap. It's all about
All together,
being who you
merge,
want to be. And
double
if we
go
all happen to
diamond.
be friends, then cool. If not, so be it. It can be that way. That's totally cool. But regardless, I think in the next couple weeks we may be out without Ken Man.
I'm
over
out of here. I'm out of
Yeah,
here.
he's going to be out of
Going to the
looks
Caribbean.
like
To the Caribbean.
Hash
Peace.
Brown and I believe, are going to try
We
and
might
hold
try
down
to
the
get
You
fort.
got these guys. You got these
Something
guys.
like that.
Go
We'll
check them
figure
out, though.
something
They'll do all right.
We'll be all right.
Anyway,
They'll do good
listen to
without me.
rock, listen to rap, listen
Love
to
you
classical.
guys.
Don't listen to classical. It
See
might
you in
hurt your
3
mind.
weeks.
Love you guys.
Bach.